Welcome. Thank you for joining. I am Latoya Henry, and I'm so excited to bring you a series of conversations called How's She Do It? I'm bringing you some amazing people who share how they get, keep, and preserve their joy. So often we see the end product, we see beauty, we see success, and we may learn about their business growth, but not necessarily about their personal side. Today, I have the twirling brunch queen herself, Michelle Sprott, aka the Brunchnista.
Hey, girl.
Hey, and I'm gonna brag on you a little bit. I'm gonna brag on you a
Lord.
little bit. Hey. Michelle is a Brooklyn-bred beauty who's passionate about young women and education. She empowers and advocates for change in young people's lives by dedicating her time and talents to organizations like Teach for America, Everybody Wins, the Fresh Air Fund, and Usher's New Look. But she's best known for all things beauty, fashion, and most importantly, brunch. She was dubbed the Brunchnista by her besties because of her never-ending quest for the best in brunch. To Michelle, brunch is more than a meal, it's a behavior and a lifestyle. And when she's not brunching or being of service, she's quenching her thirst for traveling around the world to places like Thailand and Greece and Bali and South Africa. Warm welcome to Michelle Sprott, aka Brunchnista.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, friend. Hey,
hey. You know, I want to start, Michelle, by just saying thank you for just your encouragement and just being a positive light. Even just me opening up my Instagram app and scrolling through and seeing you twirling around the world, I just really appreciate you and what you do and just how you pour in and encourage others. So thank you.
Of course. I mean, if we can't share your light with other people, then what's the point, right? So,
Indeed. Speaking of sharing your light, so tell everyone who may not be familiar with Brunchnista, although they probably are, what is Brunchnista and why did you get it started?
I'm still formulating that, but for the most part, Brunchnista is a lifestyle brand and it focuses on enhancing your brunch life. And when I say brunch life, I mean your everyday, because we want every day to feel like it's a Sunday, like a forever Sunday type concept. So taking those elements of, the best parts of your weekend and infusing them into your everyday, whether that be with cocktails, whether that be with a great outfit, whether that be with food. We just want you to find the joy that sometimes we reserve for after work or on the weekend. I want you to incorporate that into your everyday. And so that's really what Brunchnista is about.
And what are some of the things that your followers have said to you about what you do for them or what you give to them through this platform?
It's just like a reminder, right? Because I feel, and I always say this, I feel like social and personal things are the first thing to take the back burner when we're chasing our dreams, when we're going after our goals, when we're trying to get to, whatever destination we're trying to get to professionally. The first thing we'll do is say, oh girl, I can't hang out because, I got to stay late at work or I got to finish this project. But what I've found is that that's what fuels us, right? That conversation that you have with your girlfriend, that little, joke or kiki that you're able to get in is like, it kind of bursts a new sense of energy into you. And that is kind of what we need to keep going. Or at least I know I do. And I know there are many other women out there that, can relate to that. And I want to remind us to not isolate ourselves, but to really lean into that and really, use our surroundings and our friends and our, the things that bring us joy to fuel us, not to wait until we get to the destination to enjoy it.
And you know what? And as you said that, you hosted a Galentines Day brunch in your home for a few friends. And when I tell you, the Rona, we
Right.
ain't gonna talk about how
Right.
she stay interrupting people's twirl, okay? But that Galentine's Day was one of the last events, if you will, right? Because figure the Rona hit around March. Well, we shut stuff down around March, right?
And that was in
But
February.
but when I tell you, you are the hostess with the mostest. Everything from the backdrop, the rose wall, to the place settings, to the cocktails, everything was just so beautifully done. The color scheme, the agenda, because you had a whole itinerary for us. But it felt organic. It felt very natural. Like, for us to be able to use your Kiki curators to get conversations started, and we cackled and laughed and enjoyed, and girl, we had such a good time, and we were able to just, you got dressed up and you were girly and pretty, and we got to connect with each other. And so that was just such a powerful experience, and it's like a pick me up. It helps you stay up, or it's a pick me up when you need it. So
Absolutely.
So it just brought your Instagram page to life.
I mean, a lot of people say, well, how do you do it or whatever? And honestly, it really is authentically who I am. I just love doing that stuff. And I don't know, like, it's just so encouraging and helpful to me. I'm a girl's girl, like, right? So that is like my thing. Like, I love the pink, I love the frilly, I love the kiki, I love the dressing up, I love the, it's just, and I know I'm not the only one that feels like that. I know that there are other women out there that feel the same way, but they neglect that part. We tend to neglect it. It may be, like I said, a career, it may be kids, it may be marriage. So many things go on in our life, and I think we just need that reminder. And that's kind of what Brunchnista is that reminder that these things are still fun and enjoyable, and they enhance your life. They don't take away from it.
And the power of your community, the power of just getting together with a girlfriend to connect and to talk and to chat. Yes. So how has that changed with, we mentioned the Rona, but how has that changed with Corona and everything that's come along with it?
I think well, at the beginning, you could definitely see how important those relationships were. Because if you scrolled anyone's social media page, everyone was crying out like, Lord, I can't wait to see my girlfriends. I'm going to every brunch. You can invite me everywhere. I'm going. Everyone had that same sentiment, like, oh Lord, like, what have I been doing? And so I'm like, in a lot of other industries, people were like, oh man, Rona. But I think for my brand, I'm like, yes, this is what I was trying to get everybody to understand, that these things are important. And I think the coronavirus and the pandemic showed us that, yes, this is important. And we saw like 6 weeks in the house with no girlfriends, no drinking. Everybody was going crazy. We were trying to find ways to connect with each other virtually, even though we hadn't done that before. Everybody just wanted to connect in some way, somehow, some fashion. And so I thought that was so good, because I was so nervous prior to the pandemic that, everybody was like virtual, like, yeah, I saw you on social media, so you're fine. Or I text you, and so you're fine. Or, oh, I had a conversation with you, you're fine. But, the pandemic showed us that ain't
we are not okay.
Not okay. And so I'm so thankful. I know that's a different way to look at the pandemic for me, but I'm so thankful that reminded us how important our communities were, and that kind of reshifted everyone's focus. I don't know how long we'll keep it up, but everybody seems to be a little bit more intentional about their social circles and like their lives with their community.
And we've kind of been forced to whittle down, right? Because whereas we might have been going to a party or a soiree or going to a something, now you're a lot more selective. You're really pulling in the people who are closest to you for that engagement and that connection. But anywho, so I've seen you do a few different things, right? I've seen you do, and actually just speaking of like bringing it closer and bringing it into something more intimate, I've seen you do like the 50 brunch dates. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of why you decided to do that and what that did for you and your brunch dates.
Like again, I was saying, like I wanted to remind people that it was important to have that girl time. I love crowds, but I also like one-on-ones as well. And so it's really important for me to sit on the other, in front of my friend and really look into their eyes and be like, girl, are you okay? How are you? And so that's why I feel a little bit more comfortable doing the one-on-one or two and me, two girlfriends and myself. So I started that initiative because I wanted to still connect with people. And so at the top of the year, I said that I was going to brunch with 50 people. But again, the coronavirus has put a little glitch in that. But I think I've still been able to do quite a bit. Especially this summer, I was able to meet with several of my friends over, the summer and have brunch with them and stuff. And a lot of people weren't comfortable yet going out. And so that was fine. We did virtual. But yeah, like, I just think it's important to connect for my spirit. And usually when I, drag someone out, they're like, you know what? Thank you so much. I really needed this.
Yeah. When you and I went out, girl, can I tell you, I have never been so happy to put on a daggone frilly dress and throw some hair on and some lashes. I was like, oh, I'm just going to do a little something. Then it turned into a full beat and a whole outfit. But I was just I hadn't been out. That was one of my first excursions since all of this started. And so, I'm definitely one of those people who were like, yes, this was the complete pick me up that I needed.
Yeah.
But people are definitely whittling it down and still going to restaurants because we had the rooftops and the outdoor space, so that made it easy. But I also saw that you did a brunch box because everybody's cooking at home now. And so you did this brunch box, and I thought it was so clever to be able to bring that home, to bring that into people's homes where they can still get that feel, still get that experience and bring it home. But what I really wanted to talk to you about today is just, you're always so bubbly and so you're always down for a twirl and you're always just so upbeat. And I just really wanted to find out from you, how do you just stay so positive in general? I know that brunch is definitely one of the major ways that you do it, but how else do you stay so positive?
Well, I'm not always bubbly. That's the tea, right? It's, like when I'm outside, definitely I've made a conscious effort and decision to say I'm going out. So when I'm going out, I'm definitely going to bring my best foot forward. But I'm not always, happy, and I'm not always bubbly. And I have my days where I don't feel as great. I'm a woman, and, all that goes into that. But when I do begin to feel that way, I kind of recognize it in myself, and I know the things that I have to lean into to pull me out of that. So allowing myself the space to feel whatever I'm feeling in that moment, but also saying to myself, there's a time limit on how long you're going to be in this space is really important for me. And, then also leaning into the things that I know make me happy. And so I allow myself the room to be in a funk or be sad or whatever. And then you put the same amount of energy that I've allowed myself to be in that funk to turn it around. Right. Mm-hmm. So now, we're on the other side of sad. Are we going to stay in the house? No, because usually I find, if you're sad or whatever, the first thing you do is recluse to your bed, your apartment, you stay in your room or whatever, and you just avoid social interaction. So I know for myself that the one thing that can make me happy and make me smile is one, going out to eat with my friends and interacting and having a good time. Like, there's no way that I can continue to be in a funk if I'm around my friends and I'm eating and I'm drinking and I look cute. Like, that's just not going to happen for me. I'm not going to put on a full face of makeup, a wig and lashes, eyebrows, cute outfit, and then still be sad. Like, yeah. As soon as I start doing that, I mean, you can feel the little perk, you're curling the hair. You're like, ooh, that looks That looks
right.
good. You know, you put in on the lipstick, you're like, ooh, I just came to life. You know, you put on your little dress, you're like, yes, we with it now. So all those things, you know, that you do, you know, they're just, we don't think about them as being intentional, but they are. And all those things help me to get out of my funk. And so if you hear me call you, it's also therapy for me. I'm bringing you because I'm like, well, if I need it, I know she probably needs it too.
Yeah.
So we'll do it together.
Yeah, you know, and it's so funny because as you were saying that, it reminded me, I used to do this thing at my house called Shts and Giggles. And it would be maybe twice a year that I would bring, you know, all my friends or, you know, just like a bunch of my friends. I haven't done it in a while, but it started with me feeling down. And I was like, you know what? Let me just have some people over. And that was the total pick me up that I needed. So oh my gosh. So, you know, but I think that there's value, you know, sometimes the things that we think are frilly and frivolous, and there are some people who are like, you know, why you doing the most, or you don't need to do all of that. Like the that too. But the frilly and frivolous, when I tell you getting ready for today, just especially during the Rona, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I have standard issue sweats, you know, and I haven't always been getting dressed each day, like dressed up. I might be in a t-shirt and jeans or just something real simple, but just getting a dress, pulling a dress out, choosing a dress, doing the nail, like just doing these, putting some lipstick on and the Latin, that all of that, it's so seemingly frilly and frivolous, but those are some of the things that are the pick me up. Like we talk about self-care. Yeah, the visual is also something like when they say you look good, you feel good, they ain't never lied. Right. So you gave us, all right. So you gave us the going out and hanging out with friends. You gave us getting dressed up and, you know, getting ready for a twirl. Give us what's one more thing that you do that helps you to get out of the funk, or kind of you know, is a pick me up to you?
Well, this is one that I didn't realize was a pick me up, but it definitely is. And it's soaking in Epsom salts. Yeah, like
okay, you done took it back.
Yeah, like like when I feel like, and sometimes it really just is like I am dehydrated and I'm tired, right? So sometimes you don't really know how your body is reacting to that stuff. It's like sometimes, you know, I realize that I may be feeling away because I am dehydrated. So number one, I'm drinking water. Like whenever I feel like I'm taking that dive, it's like, it's okay, it's time to go get some water. And so with that, I've also included soaking in Epsom salts and taking a soak bath. Because I realized that my body is tired and probably has toxins. And so by doing that, I'm ridding my body of toxins and allowing it to kind of like reset. And so that has been very helpful. And when I can, massages and stuff like that. But the soaking in the bath is something very easy that I could do. I could put up, you know, play a little episode of like Girlfriends and sit in the tub for 30, 45 minutes. And I feel better.
I'm going to add that to my, you know, my house.
You should. It's so good. And it's so easy and it's so cheap. Like a bag of Epsom salts is like $1, I think, or maybe $2. You throw some little bit of lavender oil in there. What is that? Like maybe $5? Like it's so like, and light a candle and sit in the tub. Like,
yes, the luxuriation.
Listen, you created your own little spa situation right in your house.
Ma'am, and I could totally envision you. Oh, I done lost the nail. Wait a minute. I done picked up my head and I lost the nail. We not gonna talk about it. But I can totally envision you because you have this long, like sheer, fluffy with the fur robe. I can totally see you just luxuriating at home after an Epsom salt bath with the tunes on.
Listen, I light a candle. I do the whole nine because I have to make myself feel good. Can't nobody else do that for me. And so we're gonna try a couple things and we're gonna stick with the ones that work.
I love it. I love it. So how how important is your spirituality, or how important is spirituality in terms of you getting and keeping and preserving your joy?
Yes, definitely. It's super important. I've recently started back with my college friend. Because obviously, this year has been tough for a lot of us in different ways. And so I have my college friend, she calls and we do these Friday night prayer calls, it's group prayer. So that's always a staple for me. Like that's always been something that I lean toward. It's a part of my lifestyle. That I trust in God and trust, that even things that are not seeming like they're working out, that they are working out for my good, even though I don't know it. And, doors that have been shut, I just ask the Lord to help me accept that, because obviously that was not for me. And so I think at this stage in my life, it's more about leaning into that and listening instead of trying to fight so much. Like when I was younger.
Ooh, say that again.
So much. Like, no. But now when things happen, I'm like, okay, God, I see you. I see, like I may not understand, but I'm like, well, and I'm stubborn too. So he has to do some dramatic things to me sometimes. Right? I'm like, no, I'm the same. And he's like, sis, hi. This is not for you. And I'm going to need you to pack it up very calmly and keep it moving because there's something better, or that just wasn't for you. And it's just not a good situation for you to be in. And so I'm learning more and more that when things happen, to allow it and just ask God to get me through it, even though I may not understand it. And usually within, when I'm over being sulky about it and pouting and, wanting the way that I thought it would work out, when I usually get over that, I can see so much more clearly why it had to end, or why it didn't work out the way that I wanted, or why I didn't get what I thought I should have. So it's just being more, I wouldn't say obedient, because obviously if I was more obedient, I wouldn't be in a lot of the situation I find myself in, but just being more understanding that what is for me is always going to be for me. And whatever that is, I won't have to fight or claw my way through it, You
know what? You're preaching a word, because what I'm hearing you say is the power of perspective.
Right.
And you said it earlier, and I thought that was definitely a note to write down, is that you allow yourself the time to feel whatever it is that you want to feel, and then you set a limitation on it. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna feel this for now. I'm gonna give myself a day, and then after the day is up, then I got to keep it moving.
Gotta move, because you can't. What tends to happen, and I know because I've done it, so I can speak from a point of having that experience. And what tends to happen is we go down rabbit holes. Well, why this? And if I had done this, and what happened to this? And maybe if it was like this, and you could spend your whole life doing something like that. And trust me, I've spent a lot of time in my head, going over scenarios and situations and conversations that are pointless. So once you start viewing it in the perspective, and it's hard, it's not easy. I'm not sitting here telling anybody that it's easy to kind of just be like, oh, that wasn't for me and I didn't get it, whatever. It's not easy, it's not. But, with my therapist too, like we just had a conversation today, and it's just like, you have to change your thinking. You got to, like, I think I'm more of the person that kind of is like, well, if it doesn't happen, it wasn't for me. But it's also like, you have to work at some of those things. And if my therapist gave me 3 things to say. She's like, I can't even remember, but it was kind of like, I deserve it and I'm worthy, and that I needed to say those things every single day. And I do believe that, as a worker bee, as somebody who works at the things I want, that's something I'm gonna have to work at. I'm not gonna have to get up every day and just hope it falls on me. Like, I'm gonna have to get up every day and be super intentional about my happiness. I'm gonna have to get up and be super intentional about me understanding my worth. I'm not just gonna walk out the door and worth hits me in my face and it's gonna be like, woo, girl, now you're worthy. No, it's not gonna happen like that. I literally have to have a conversation with myself every day about my self-worth. And so that's the only way that it's gonna change. And I think that's important for us. Like, you have to work at the things you want. I think we all know it, but I think through conditioning and probably even religion too, we kind of feel like, oh, if it happens, it happens. So changing that mindset is important.
Well, what you said, which I think is, just so powerful, because what I heard was there's a level of discernment, right, between what is just the work that needs to be done and when a space is not for you, right? So like, we go through things all the time, and sometimes it's just the challenge of the progress and the work and all that. But then there are other times where it's like, God gives you a gill. Do they still say gill? God gives you a gill, or a slap on the back of the head, like, girl, wake up, just get up out of here, right? Where a space is not for you. So there's a level of discernment. But you also said something of just like, I'm gonna feel the feels, but then I need to just really move on and think things through. And so there was something else that you said, the mantras. Just really speaking life into yourself and to remind yourself of, I am worthy, I have value, I have, I remember my sister years ago had gotten me this, they had these little cards. And I think that there were maybe enough for the year, so maybe 365 of these cards that had these empowering phrases on them. And I didn't use it for years, right? Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Right. But eventually I started using it, sister. Eventually I started using it, but I started using it at a time that I needed it. And I would say those, pick up a card, and I would say it to myself every morning. And I did that until I was saying it in my head on my own. So to your point, you just have to be intentional about it all.
There's so many things that I will speak for myself. There's so many things that I thought would just come naturally that don't. And I think a lot of people may feel like me, like, if it doesn't come naturally, then it just wasn't meant for you. Mm-hmm. And that's the conversation that I have with my therapist today. And it's like, no, actually, you kind of have to program your brain and your mind to think in that way, because you're fighting against how you were raised. You're fighting against things you've told yourself. You're fighting against all these things. And so you have to reprogram that and then combat those things. So it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Brain work that is not like, for me, like I said, I'm a worker bee. So I like to do things with my hands, and I like to see results with my hands. So like, me doing mental work to me isn't something that is like super satisfying, because it's not something tangible that I can touch and be like, you have arrived at the finish line. So it's going to take a little bit more for me in, how I am as a person, but it can still be done. And I am willing at this point. Sis has got to do it. So we gonna do it come hella high water.
And you are doing it. You are doing it. You're in the midst of doing it. And I think that, when you were talking about, what your therapist shared, one of the things that I hear is like, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Right. And so it's kind of like, yeah, I feel you and everything, but sometimes we are stressed. Right. And just because I'm stressed doesn't mean that I'm not blessed, or that I don't believe in God, or that I don't believe in what God has for me. It's just that I may be having these emotions right now. And I don't think that we always learn what we do, or what we need to do. And that's why this series, I think, is so important, to hear from people like you who are so amazing. And, it's like, you're always so bubbly, and you're always so positive, and you're always so, so amazing. And this is the woman that wore tulle on the beach in Jamaica with some red lipstick and lashes and hair, right? Like, you're always so on and just like authentic and organic and so amazing. And it's like, how do you do it, right? We need to know the how, because like the hands-on situation, yeah, you can figure out. I can find some instructions somewhere to get something done, or I can YouTube it and what have you. But this kind of work is it's so important for us to hear from people like you who are doing it. So I think if I'm getting the recap right,
Yeah.
tell me if I missed anything, right? So definitely hanging out with girlfriends, the in true Brunchnista form,
Of
getting
course.
cute and just
Yeah.
taking care of yourself and pouring into yourself and looking and being your best self.
Yes.
That Epsom salt is, I think the Epsom salt is going to be like the
I'm
game
telling you,
changer.
that's a game changer for me. I started doing that. I was like, oh, okay. That and drinking water too. Cause I think, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I learned so many of my dragging feelings and my like pulling down feelings was because I was dehydrated. You know, I travel a lot. And so it dehydrates me very quickly. And that was something I did not know. I didn't know that. And so as soon as I drank more water, I was like, oh, this makes a difference. It's something so simple.
Stay hydrated. Mm-hmm. Stay
You know, when they
hydrated.
say stay hydrated, mind your business, they mean that. It's real advice. When they are out there talking about drink water, stay hydrated, it's simple, but I'm telling you, it's such a game changer. It's such a game changer.
So stay hydrated
Stay
and
hydrated.
and have some mantras. And if even if it may be a box of cards that have their own mantras to pour life into you, or you can create the mantras that you want,
Yes.
and the things that you need individually, like about worthiness, about deserving what you have, about all those different things. And then of course spirituality, and staying grounded in that way. So Michelle, you have given us so many pearls today, and just your spirit and your energy is is the pick me up that I needed today. So thank you so
Of
much for
course.
joining us.
Of
Yay.
course. I mean, anytime, um, honored as always. Whenever anyone is like, oh, we want to talk to you, I'm like, me? Oh my God, why? But always honored to share. And, I feel like if someone can relate, it made a difference. If there's one person out there who feels like they're going through something, and there was anything that we both share a commonality in, and that was your sign to keep going, to keep pressing, and to keep being fabulous.
Well, thank you. I think that's the perfect note to end on. And thank you for joining me for the first How's She Do It? Thank you, Michelle Sprott, aka Brunchnista. You can find her at Brunchnista on Instagram and www.brunchnista.com.
Thank you so
Yay,
much.
Michelle!